Yes, sweet.
I was watching your special yesterday, and turns out we're not so different, you and I. We both have opas who were in the Dutch resistance and were in concentration camps.
Oh, there you go.
Isn't that a funny place to start a comedy podcast?
Guys, obviously it's fertile ground for the yuck yucks. But, oh, well, that's interesting. Dutch hopper?
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know which side. It could have been German. I didn't know which way it was
Well, I
going.
do. It's the easiest joke, but I do make the joke when I say to people, "Oh yeah, my opa was in the concentration camps as a prisoner," because it is worth underlining that. Like, what sort of story are you telling me right now?
Yeah, what are we throwing out here? Well, my partner, she's half German, and we're about to head over there, to be honest. And so, I don't know. I often think like maybe we lost the war. Maybe, who knows?
Have you been to Germany before?
I have.
Mm.
But I was backpacking and I went to Munich for like beer fest, so it wasn't the most cultural experience myself.
Oh, I read this on your Wikipedia because did these backpacking stories not make up the first show you did at the comedy festival?
It's funny, I haven't been a long time on my Wikipedia page. I probably went on it, over 10 years ago. And then I sometimes get it back at like corporate. Someone will do an introduction and be like, well, his debut show was nominated for Best Newcomer. And I'm like, oh my God, that was 2007.
It is awkward, those things that don't get updated. I was procrastinating and I went onto my LinkedIn yesterday and went, oh, this bio hasn't been updated since 2011, but people are still adding me on there. So their first impression is, what is your 2011 bio? And it's like, oh, that's not me. That's not who I am.
Mate, but it's exhausting, like updating all your bios and getting everything and making sure it's all fine. And I pity people who go on dating apps because you're like, oh my God, you got to do that in your life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I was surprised before we started recording, you were talking about editing clips to go out while you're away on holiday.
Yeah.
And I was stunned, shocked, surprised, other synonyms, that you don't have a person that you hire to do your clips and things.
No, it was during, like so many people during lockdown, I started doing it.
Mm.
And then I thought, oh, well, I'm getting on top of it. And then I've just continued to do it. And it's a bit of me doesn't want to let go of my babies, but a large chunk of me doesn't want to do it. So then I'm starting to think it's too big for me to tackle on my own because you've got all the platforms you got to touch: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that. And so to get it all across that and get it all in their certain mediums, I'm starting to think I need someone else to do it.
It is a lot. It is massive. I suppose why I'm interested in and why I guess I want people to hear about this as well is I think a lot of us have an idea that there will be a time where it gets a little bit easier, or once you have management or once you have budget, then someone will do that for you. And you're like, nah, I'm still doing a lot of that heavy lifting myself. And I think that's worth hearing because I don't want people who think that grass is greener thing to happen and go, oh, hold on, I'm always going to be doing this. There's never going to be a time.
Yeah. I mean, it's the first time I've realized in what we do that you have inventory that you got to pay for, because before you've just got dumb ideas. You say them on stage, you probably get paid, or if maybe it's an open mic room, you don't get paid. This is the first time in our business it's really cost us money. Because Nath Valvo showed me an American comic, and his name escapes me, but he said he spends $20,000 a month now. I mean, he's got 1 million followers and he's really pushing that. But that's $240,000 a year, American, that he is putting to make sure that, I guess, like any business, like if you're an entrepreneur, you think, in the first few years I'm not making money, or however I view it, so that I hit a maximum point where it tips over, I'm making heaps of profit and it's worth the outlay.
Yeah.
But as a comic, you're not used to going, well, I'll be in the shit for 4 years and then hopefully it will yield profits.
But at the same time, though, you are doing a lot of essentially volunteer work, intern work in those first years, in that hope that it will pay off in some sort of way. But then also people are treating their Instagram and their YouTube like a TV channel. So it is a brand. Now I'm putting money into it. I guess I'm intrigued in regards to yourself. You've been doing this for so long. Do you not have like an established audience that I guess you're not comfortable to coast on that? What's the driving force for you to make sure that you're keeping those socials up and growing?
I had a thing where, I mean, during lockdown, we're all a bit bored anyway. And then there was very limited options out there. And it was working with the Auntie Donna guys, because they work here at the same studio that we're recording right now.
Mm.
And I remember it was a few years ago with Zach from there. He described it by saying, if you're in a courier business and you're a shipping magnate, well, when planes turned up and they said, we can courier this stuff, and they went, no, ships are my thing. It's like, well, no, couriing's your thing. It doesn't matter how it gets there. That's the thing you got to look at. And the guy that went, no, planes and stuff aren't for me. We're sticking with ships.
They're never going to take off.
Well, they might have, but they're really limiting themselves.
Yeah.
So I just realized it's a different way to courier whatever you're doing through it. And so I don't know if it'll kill all the other media, because we've never stopped using whatever media is out there. Like TV was supposed to kill cinema. It didn't. Radio was supposed to be killed by cinema. It wasn't. Everything still just stuck around. So now it's all of it. And especially my age group, which is, I say, you go through comedians, you go through each decade and you'll see how their audience consumes their comedy. Like if you're 55 years old, it's probably old media, more likely than not. I'm 45, and so I've got friends who maybe have a memory of free-to-air TV, might still watch a bit of it, but are starting to scroll, and they're more just on Facebook, maybe Instagram, probably not TikTok.
30, you're trying to reach all of those people.
Well, yes, I feel my age group particularly, we are caught right in the middle of it all. So we're just like, all right, I'll just try and canvas all of it. 35, it's probably just streaming and social media. And at 25, it's just social media probably.
Yeah.
Like they're just finding you on YouTube or any of the socials.
And you're trying to make sure that you are growing your audience. Like there isn't just because you've been very successful over the years, and I want to get into the timeline of it all. You are someone who's continuing to be ambitious and knowing that you can't coast on, oh yeah, last year was successful, this year will be successful again. You are someone who is working hard to make sure that audience sticks around.
Marcel, people don't give a shit. As in, we all remember in our careers what we've done. But if you said, I did this 3 years ago, people are like, did you?
Yeah.
Like they really forget.
Yeah.
And I just think the great thing with the internet, and we spoke about it a little bit before we got in here, it is a ravenous beast that wants to get fed and is never full. That's probably the harder part of it. The best side of it, it is malleable to you and it is at your disposal. When TV and radio, you had to get someone to tap you on the shoulder and be like, we like you.
Give you permission. Yeah.
There were gatekeepers. There's no gatekeepers. So you can go for it. But how you tackle walking through that gate and continuing to pursue that area, I guess, is the question.
It is true. It is fickle. Like, because even for me on a much smaller scale, people might come and see my show one year and go, oh my God, had the best time. And you go, well, that must be a locked in ticket for next year to have someone who enjoyed your show so thoroughly. You're like, great, I'm growing an audience. You may never see that person again. They could have had the best time. You go, here I go. That's another ticket for next year. There is zero guarantee of that. So we do have to be, exposing ourselves to new audience members at all time in that hope that there will be new tickets and new audiences.
Yeah. I mean, people still go like, I love you on the radio. And I'm like, I haven't done it in 7 years. They probably mistake me for Nick Cody. But then I find that really funny. I've had people say, like, I'm such a huge fan of yours. And then they'll say, that clip of yours, and describe someone else's gear. And I go, yeah, I'm really good like that. Yeah. Being a mother of 3, it's really great for me. So then they'll, and you think, like, even the people that purport to be your big fans quite often miss the mark. And that is fine. Because again, I mean, we're rodeo clowns. We come into people's lives to give them some distraction. We're not. And so your ego isn't like, well, how could you not remember everything I did? No one cares as much as you do.
I did an improv show the other day, and this will be up your alley because it plays with one of your favorite accents in the special. I did an improv show where I played a South African character. Then I had a guy come up to me afterwards and go, love that Russian accent you did the other night. I went, okay. It was not even close. But I had to be like, all right. Actually, I corrected this guy because I was precious about it. I was like, it was pretty good. Okay.
Please. I want nothing to do with Vladimir Putin and everything to do with what used to be a former apartheid state.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we just have to take it and run with it. Speaking of clips and the different eras, you posted a clip from, I guess, was it your debut appearance on Rove Live?
Yeah.
Because that's a real like, here is a real throwback on new technology. I sound ancient in myself. Tell me about that, because that's just a really great reminder of how long you've been in the biz as well. What was it like to look back on that clip and chop that up for social media? Was that a nostalgic moment for you?
Yes, 2008, I did Rove Live. And considering Rove had started, technically, I think it's 1990 started in Channel 9. And I do remember vaguely seeing it. And then 2000, 2001, whatever it was, it kicked off and it was huge. And so that's, God, I'm trying to think then. So it'd be 20, and that was before I did stand up. And then I found myself doing stand up on Rove.
So
And
real early days.
real early days. You can tell I'm very nervous. I'm waiting. I'm staring straight down the barrel of the camera. Weirdly, I remember this. I'd done a lot of roadshow with Gadsby at the time. And Hannah is one of those comics where she doesn't change gears.
Mm.
You know, she's just like, that's how she's delivering it. And there's a lot of power to that. And I think I just caught a bit of that off her where I was like, right, yeah, you just deliver the punchlines. That's what they are.
Yeah.
But I'm actually quite an animated person. And in my last special, you see it, I'm bouncing around the stage. I'm just like that in real life. But I was so nervous, had my hands in my pockets, and I just delivered it down the barrel. And it was fine. I mean, the bit I put up is probably the best joke. The rest of them are just fine.
How much of a window do you get? And is there a real time pressure of like, it's in and out, I mean, there's sort of an idea of get to the joke, because with these TV shows, you don't have much time to mess around and do crowd work and stuff.
No, that is true. I had my 7 minutes, I think it was. It could be a little bit less. And Rove was really lovely. And it was, I mean, it's funny that, again, this is so big in your brain, but I do remember finishing the show and being in the green room and the guy's like, all right, well, you know, and they stuck around for a little bit. And then because it was another day at work for
Just
them.
ordinary.
But I'm like, oh, aren't we going, like, are we doing Hollywood, like Coke binges? Or,
Well, that must also feel
where's the
crazy as well did you have a feeling of, oh, well, this is comedy now. I guess I've arrived. And I know there is no such thing as arriving, making it, etc. These are all made up things for like the narrative of a life than actually living a life. But that's got to feel like, oh, just like someone who wins raw comedy for like, and it's their first ever gig, and they go, I guess this is just how comedy works, because they get such a narrow idea of how comedy works for them. Did you just go, oh, this feels natural and normal that I'm doing Rove after a couple of years of stand-up?
No, like it was big in my world. And I think back then it held a lot more weight because you had 5 channels and then you're on one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had to do that. And I think I did Good News Week and maybe Spicks and Specks. And then it was like, I wasn't on my way, certainly, but it was, people would be like, oh, God, so you've done the tally. And I'd think, oh, I've done the tally. But then
You must have felt so comfortable at those family barbecues. All of us who in our first 5 years hadn't been on the telly and having to go through those family barbecues and Christmases, were like, oh, so have you done anything? And you're like, no, not really. You were able to go, yeah, you might have seen me on Rove and Spicks and Specks. So those uncles, they would have been satiated. They would have been thrilled.
I remember it was Judith Lucy who said to me, she said, people either think you live in a gutter or you live in an ivory tower. Like there is no in between. They cannot fathom how you make money, or they're like, well, he's on TV. I mean, he must be living in some mansion.
You got the other uncle sort of treatment, which is the, well, Mr. Funny Man on the telly.
There's a bit of that. I mean, mind you, I don't think I had this kind of wisdom when I did it, but I learned a lesson when I did my first ever spot, which I really should. I think my mum's got a DVD copy of it. I was on Good Morning Australia with Bert Newton.
Oh, wow.
And it was like 10:30 in the morning.
Incredible.
And because this was good luck, not good management, I worked in the Channel 10 in Melbourne in South Yarra. That's where Channel 10 is, but it's part of the Como Centre.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked in a cafe there. That was just a job that I had. I didn't even know Channel 10 was there until I started work.
You got discovered Harrison Ford style.
That's right. I was doing carpentry somewhere around there. It was, honestly, the crew would come in, and some of them are still there. And they would come in and we'd just talk shit and whatever. And then they said, oh, we've got you on Good Morning Australia. I'm like, oh, have you? And I went up there.
They knew that you did comedy. They weren't just, we got that funny barista to do.
Can he do a
this guy's the cracker. Let's get him on.
Yeah. And then so they got me on, and Bert was actually quite nice. He was standing behind me, kind of laughing, but it was still a morning show. You just had the crew laughing kind of thing, and did all right. And I remember a friend of mine who I grew up with was like, you've made, like, this is it now. You're just on the train to success. And no one gave a shit because it was middle of the day TV.
You're going to be back plugging products with Moira.
Exactly. That's exactly right. With Belvedere. So I kind of knew from then, I'm like, oh, there's none of this silver bullet stuff, or you get to something and then you go, and then we're done. Like and to his credit, Kevin White, who's the head of my management, he goes, "Oh, you got to be on TV for almost a year straight for people to recognize you," and he
And
was
now
right.
you are just a thing that is around. Because there certainly was that era, and it was like maybe early noughties and but definitely 90s that if you're on the TV in Australia, then you're just a mainstay forever. It's like, oh yeah, we just have a stable of people. And it's often like a punchline about it. People going, oh, that it's because it's not actually true of like, oh, there's only been 10 people on Australian TVs since 1997.
Yeah.
It's not accurate, but it can sometimes feel that way because we have such a limited amount of TV channels. But like, are you able, as I said, like it's not the reality, but it is how we sort of spin the narrative. Like looking back, like ignoring the Wikipedia page, but are you able to sort of go, oh, Good Morning Australia led to this, which led to this, or is it not so neat as one thing leading to another?
Uh, yeah. It's funny. I haven't thought about any of this for a long time. It's funny you brought it up. But I do realize in hindsight how fortunate I was to have that. I mean, I was doing Channel 31 as well, community TV, and that held a lot of weight
Hmm.
by doing
Yeah,
that.
Marcel, I'm still one of the real ones, okay? I still was on community TV.
Yeah.
I didn't sell out straight away.
Well, I was lucky. That was the Rove effect, really, because Rove did it, and a lot of those guys in that generation did it, and it turned into that. So TV was still like, oh, this is a real breeding ground.
And it goes to show how important it is to have TV shows that have new talent like portions on them that doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't exist anymore. And Studio A, I'm really proud of what the people have come through that. I mean, I was the first host, then Tommy Little was the second host, and then there was,
And is he still doing stuff?
and it's vaguely, and then Ann Edmonds and Luke McGregor and Tom Ballard and just a handful
wow.
of huge people that have come through that. And so TV was still looking at that to be like, oh, this is a real development league. I mean, I know that Waleed Ali and Nazim, they had, God, what was the show? Salem Kitchen, I think it was. Oh God.
And this is the thing, like how important it is in those first few years to have someone go, here's an opportunity. Here we think you have something here. That early encouragement is so important. For most new comedians these days, they are just going out to open mics and going, oh, is this comedy? There isn't much else like that they can see in those early days that is like, oh, but I could be doing that, or this could lead to this. It is, here is a mucky, swampy open mic, and here are some people doing crowd work on Instagram. And they're like, oh, and unless they are getting like meeting a cool person that is going to keep them propped up, or finding a cool community early on, or having the luck of going to a comedy room that's one of the good ones early on.
Yeah.
That's it for them. Like those opening years, I feel.
Yeah. Although what I have noticed though on social media is that I was having this conversation with George Capagnars recently, who did Acropolis Now, and I asked him about it. And I've also asked Jim Owen about this because they were two shows in the 90s that were huge, but also they got picked up in their early 20s. Like people were at rooms and going, looks great, let's make a TV show about it.
Yeah.
And it happened that quickly. It didn't happen for everyone, but it happened that quickly. And George Capagnars especially was saying a lot of comedy nights were sketch and improv and a little bit of stand-up. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
When I came through, it was all stand-up. You just didn't have any sketch shows or anything. But what I've noticed now online is there's heaps of sketch troops.
All sketch, yeah.
There's a lot of sketch, which I don't think is a bad thing at all, because I think it gives that opportunity for that to exist when it probably wasn't huge when I was coming through. I mean, I did Comedy Inc., if people remember, for 8 weeks or something. I wasn't great, but that were the last legs of sketch comedy.
Yeah, I remember those days. I remember, and because everyone's always hungry for Australian sketch, and they'll go, "Oh, maybe this one will be the one." And this show had a couple of highlights, but as a whole, and then people are thinking back to those full frontal fast forward days. But then they're never coming back, and it's all online now. As you say, all the sketches are online, and even the new shows that have gone. No, we're going to try and bring sketch back to TV. They're competing with your phone, which is such a hard thing to compete with. Meanwhile, I think the transaction between I want you to enjoy my clips online, so you buy a ticket and see me live. Oh, I can see that makes sense. But you already enjoy me on your phone. Now enjoy me on your TV doing a similar thing. It's like, Oh, okay. Well, I don't really see the difference. I think that trade off for a young audience doesn't make as much sense.
Yeah. I mean, I had lunch recently with Glenn Robbins, and he was telling me because I love hanging out with these guys because I just pick their brains,
Hmm.
and I'm not sure if they find me annoying or not, but I sit there and I'm like, so what was that like, and how did you get that up, and what
Hey,
happened
this
here?
is what I'm doing to you right
Yeah,
now.
but
And
then
by the way, just for the listener, there are so many names dropped around Dave's feet right now, like you can barely barely move.
yeah, yeah. But I just really like talking to these guys because it was a complete different time,
Mm,
and so what we're speaking about now, the trajectory is completely different. It probably will never exist like that again. I'm always enamored in how these things happen, and so what happened there? And with Glenn, you think, yeah, he was doing sketches, and then got all this stuff up, and he's doing character work that has now led to like Russell Coit and
Kath and Kim.
all of that
Mm.
stuff. Even during this lunch, a guy came. It was like he paid him, and he said afterwards, he goes, like he made jokes about it, but I was like, it's like you got this guy to intentionally do it halfway through lunch. He came over and goes, sorry to interrupt. I just want to let you know my mother was really sick for a while, and Kath and Kim got us through it, and just laughing at you made it. And so I've got a real, like he was really earnest about it, and he kind of got choked up, and Glenn's like, thank you, mate, and shook his hand, had a really nice conversation. Then he left and he goes, oh, that happens all the time. Not in an arrogant way, but he goes, I've just realized the things I do kind of
And did you chime in
touch
and go,
people.
and did you see the 8 weeks of me on Comedy Inc? Or
Okay. Sorry, mate. I've done some porridge ads that have been pretty good. So it's, you think those kind of characters and things like really do touch people and they
Mm.
really love it. And who knows? I don't know if it'll happen again on Australian television. Maybe it does. It's all cyclic. Maybe it will.
Are you good at celebrating those sort of moments and like recognizing the worth of your time? Or you are head in the next thing, next thing, next thing? Like you are, like, because as you said, you hadn't thought much about Good Morning Australia in a while, which makes sense. But are you someone that can appreciate what you have and what you have grown and what you've built over this time? Or are you someone hungry for, oh, what else? What else? Are you someone that can sit still?
I think, Marcel, I've tried as I've got over just, well, the duplicity of man. When I when I think I have moments probably on my own where I reflect and I'm really I think about how fortunate I've been. But then you also know that the next day you're going to be annoyed about something
Mm-hmm.
because probably touching on what we touched on before, you kind of have to keep moving. You can't just sit there and be like, "Oh, what was I?" I've seen that sometimes with some comedians. I'm not going to name any, but I'm just, that are like, but I did. You're like, you did.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah. What else?
And so we've moved on. So you have both of those things. I have a lot of times when I sit and go, this is awesome. And then times, like I was sitting in a green room recently. I know we just said name drops, but I love it when I'm hanging out with comics. I'm like, who knew? I was with Jamoan, Husey, and Arj Barker, and I'm in a green room just thinking, this is sick.
Yeah, it's
Like,
crazy.
this is awesome. I get to do gigs with all these guys. And so I really like it. But then you die in your hole and you're like, well, a lot of work needs to be done.
Oh yeah, it can still just disappear. Let's flash back to those early days. Who were you before you got into stand-up comedy? Was it always something that had aspirations about, or did you fall into it?
It's just sheer natural talent. No, I think it came about because of like parents in the 80s. It was just sheer neglect. And I mean that in a really loving way. My father since passed away, but I had really great parents. But it was more on a weekend. They're like, we're sticking the TV on so we don't have to do anything. And I just grew up on a heavy dose of a lot of old movies, like a lot of
Yeah.
old Marx Brothers. I was about to say Groucho Marx. Marx Brothers, Three Stooges, Abbott and Costello, a lot of those old films. And then just a lot of British comedy because my dad was British. And he was a muso. He only did that part-time. He had a cleaning company otherwise. And then musos are really funny people. They're people that just make jokes all the time.
Mm.
And I just thought that comedy looked like music, but you don't have to learn any instruments. I thought this looks heaps
Yeah.
easier. And so I think that inadvertently, because I was grown up on, when I say adult humor, not like bawdy humor, but I'm saying like I watch stuff that adults would watch,
Yeah.
series that adults would watch, movies that adults would
I was always obsessed about what other people were laughing at in the room, and because like my two older brothers, 4 years older, 7 years older, and my mum, all of us watching TV together. We were watching Seinfeld, so I would often just laugh with them or laugh with the laugh track. And
Hey.
I remember one time being the only one that laughed, like because I was laughing with the laugh track, and then my brother was like, "Well, why was that funny?" Like he wanted to know, like he wanted to
Yeah.
know why I thought it was funny. I was like, I don't know. Like I realized,
Why don't you show your
oh,
face? How about that?
but I've since been obsessed with making sure I'm in on the joke and like knowing what people find funny, what people are getting. And that's why I've been obsessed with The Simpsons and knowing what all the references are in The Simpsons, going back and watching all those movies just so I can go, oh yeah, I get it now. Oh, it was the birds the whole time.
Isn't it funny? I agree. The Simpsons was like you know about Mr. Burns's Teddy episode, and then you find out about Citizen Kane. Like
Yeah.
everything was reverse
Yeah.
engineered in my life, and that's when I did radio. It used to shit me because the PDs, the producers, would be like, "Oh, no one understands what that means." I'm like, "Hey, I didn't understand a lot of what those references were, but you just go back and figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't ostracize people. It makes them go, "Oh, what does that mean?" But I do agree with you. When you're young, you're kind of looking at it like, "Oh, how does this all work?" And my dad, because he ran a cleaning business, but he just fucking hated it. And then so from Monday to Friday, I just got a man that was fairly over his work, that had a bad back, that life was a bit shit, and he wasn't. I mean, he was a bit grumpy and over it. And then on a weekend, he'd kind of hang out with his bandmates or his friends. He'd be drinking, he'd having fun. They're all giving each other shit. And I'm like, this is heaps more fun.
Yeah. What if we flip that?
Yeah, what if we just do that? And then you realize in comedy, oh man, I've dissected the thing and maybe killed it of what the fun was. But it looked like it was so much more fun. And I remember my first ever job, I used to be a graphic designer. I remember I was still living at home and it would have been 19, maybe 20. And I came home and I genuinely, it wasn't a breakdown, but I just started crying because I said to Mum, do you do this until you're 65?
Yeah.
She's like,
yeah.
yeah, if you want to sign up for it. And I was like, it broke my brain. I'm like, we're doing this for what? For the next 40 years?
Yeah.
And it's like, it was something that just sat with me. I thought, I can't believe people just do this.
I have a similar thing, and I wonder if it's a brain chemistry thing, if it's a generational thing, because I think some people have that crisis, and then they change and they go, all right, what if I gave my life to being a clown instead and trying to put fun forward? But then a lot of people go, oh, is this just how it is? I guess I'll just keep doing that. And do they just resign themselves to a life of that? Are they thinking about there's got to be a better way? I wonder what it is about the people that decide, oh, I'm getting out of the rat race, the hamster wheel lifestyle, so to speak. Because it also, goes back to what you're saying about the musician cleaner lifestyle too, about that old idea of find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life, but you've also turned the thing you love into work. And now it's like, oh, hold on, wasn't this fun once upon a time? Tell me a little bit about that relationship of turning something fun into a job. Has that been a challenging relationship?
I mean, you're right initially on what you touched on, that when it becomes your thing, you quite often strangle it to death and think, what happened? Where's the joy? I have seen other mates in my life where I'm not envious, but when they have a job that they're not fully into, they find all these other things in their life that they love. And you go, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And they have a nice delineation between work and the rest of their life. Yeah.
My partner's always like, do you want to fix things around the house? I'm like, I couldn't think of anything worse. She's like, don't you have anything? I'm like, yeah, jokes. I work on jokes. That's what I do. And, but I think, I mean, this is quite morbid, but so many comedians, there's always something wrong with us in that what a strange vocation to stand up in front of strangers and get their adulation. But my father, he passed away when I was 19. And in hindsight, the further I get from it, the more I realize it was a seminal time. Not just, obviously, it was heartbreak and I didn't want him to pass away. No one does. But then at a funny time in my life, I realized life was finite. And I went, oh, because when you're 19, you're like, no, life will go on forever. Who gives a shit? And I was like, oh, it ends. And seeing my dad do a miserable job, I was like, oh, yeah, and you can work a miserable job. He retired at 59, retired at 55, I should say, died at 59. And I thought, oh, you like that, you can just work and fall over.
Yeah, those retirement years are not guaranteed. Those people that are working for retirement, oh, yeah, one day I'll go on that fishing trip. One day I'll do that fun thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that may never come.
And I hate to say it, if that hadn't happened, I don't think I would have gotten into stand-up. I wouldn't have had that like real push to do it. And because he was, I mean, I'm sure a psych is listening to this right now and thinking they'd have a field day with whatever's going on, because it's a very cliched thing where I saw what he was doing, saw how miserable he was at the job. And then I also probably threw a little bit of, I was pissed off at him and I was annoyed that I think he just did that shit job and then made his life shit from Monday to Friday and then in turn made ours a bit shit.
Yeah, he took it out on the rest of you.
Yeah, not in an abusive way, just in a real, like, I'm in a grumpy mood, so everyone's going to be in a grumpy mood. Like
Yeah,
we all do.
and this feels so familiar to my childhood as well. Just
Really?
in like my mum's single mum, nurse, and worked so damn hard, but because she was so stressed, it was just a contagious atmosphere. And
Mm.
I only knew houses with yelling in them. And when I went to other friends' houses, like you touch on this in your show, is going, oh, wait, some houses don't have yelling in them. And like that idea of, oh, I thought that's just how people communicate is, yeah.
I mean, I used to get in trouble all the time in high school because we would communicate by really getting into each other. That was our family. And I realized my dad probably went a little bit too hard when we were younger. Like he really was acerbic. And I think that grumpiness just bled in. But I just assumed that's how people talk to each other. So I would get in trouble all the time because I would really throw heavy barbs at people. And then they're like, that was really hurtful. I'm going to tell the teacher. And I'm like, we're having fun. We're having fun.
I had the same thing. My friends had an intervention in primary school. I was maybe grade 6 or grade 7 because Adelaide is still grade 7. And they told me that I swore too much. And I thought, but we're boys. Don't boys like love swearing and stuff? But I'd obviously borrowed way too much language from my older brothers and thought that this is cool. I'll try this on to a point where my friends started going, we don't actually like that. That's actually, you're too intense, and having to go, I guess I should dial this back.
What an intervention.
Yeah.
Well, you guys sound like a bunch of fuckheads, so I'm out. But I also think what drove me in those early days, like it drives anyone, is fear. Like you're just driving off fear. There is a love of comedy, but there's a fear of screwing it all up. And I'm very sure that propelled me for the first. I mean, it still at times does.
I sort of picture a hang in there kitty poster on your wall reminding you what you're doing this for.
Totally, Marcel. I mean, I think as you get along, I mean, I'm now a bit older, so I can't work at the rate I used to, but I think I used to work so hard to just outrun the fear. You're almost like if you're working so much, I would love getting to the end of a week and being so exhausted, I would just almost fall over. But I'm like, I did everything. I did it all because you're just running from that doubt. You're a sociopath if you're like, I thought it was always going to work out. You're like, no, I didn't think it was always going to work out. I was acutely aware of how it could all fuck up. But then I also had that thing hanging over my head because Dad's musical career didn't work out. And strangely, he went on New Faces, which was hosted by Bert Newton.
Yeah, wow.
In like the 70s. I've never seen footage of it. And supposedly my mum wasn't with my dad then, but she told me about this afterwards after he'd passed away. And she said, he didn't, I think, get a really good review. Like they were middling and like, you're okay. And I think it just crushed my dad. And he was a bit of a celebrity around Geelong. And I know that sounds very twee, but these are the 50s and 60s when the difference between Geelong and Melbourne, which is only an hour for people listening, is huge.
Yeah.
Like you just become this little celebrity in its pocket, and Dad stayed in that pocket. And I felt like when I was growing up, there were so many people that would know like we'd be honestly walking down the street and people were like, Peter. Snags was his nickname. So like, Snagglepuss. And I go, who's that? And Dad goes, I don't know. People just know me, mate. Like he would say it like it was the coolest thing ever. But the music didn't work out for us. So he didn't encourage my brother and I to get into music. And so I think comedy was this way of performing, but I wasn't taking myself seriously. And I hated the musical theatre kids at school. I also hated the saccharine sweetness about
any earnestness of like, I want to be somebody. Like that turns off most comedians. Yeah. Even though I have this, like, this is my sort of hot take is like, there is nothing nerdier than a comedian. Comedians are the most closeted nerds you will ever meet, but they put on this air of like, oh, check out those fuckheads over there doing their improv warm-ups. You were obsessing over poetry today. Okay. You were looking at your words like the poet you are and going, oh, what if this word was actually over here? You are nerdier than those improvisers who were actually just doing anything else today. You were obsessed, but we're so scared. I think most comedians, especially Australian comedians, to admit how much we love it, how much we want to get better at it, how much it is an art. As soon as a comedian goes, oh, it's not an art form. Okay, buddy, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? You're afraid of Dad coming in and going, hey, what are you doing? I told you never to get into the arts. You're like, don't worry, Dad, it's not the arts, it's comedy. And you're like, it's art.
I mean, it's also what I love about stand-up is that it's inherently built to eat its own because we attack things in the zeitgeist because we go, "Oh, look at that, like what are they doing?" And we question it. So when a comedian becomes so big, they're in the zeitgeist. So all the other comics are like, "Oh, look at this guy." And when I saw Mark Maron do that bit about Theo Von, where he said like Theo would have Hitler on his podcast, being like, "You gonna apologize to the Jews?" And you're like, "I don't really feel like it." Yeah, okay. What else we doing? And like I'm like, yeah, because we're going to attack the thing and give shit to the thing that's popular.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it inherently is going to cop it if it's popular.
Yeah, yeah, I think it is a confusing thing, and also it's such a big thing, comedy in general, that there is no one way of doing it. But I think so many people want to name what it is. You know, okay, there's no absolutes, but I'm getting off track.
I hear what you're saying.
Were you happy with those early wins then of being like, okay, almost that sociopathic level of work of like, I've got to make this work. I want to see results in this. You must have been happy with those early wins, or was it, oh God, okay, I've got this. What's next? What's next? What's next? You got like best newcomer nomination at Comedy Festival.
Yeah, goddamn, Sammy J beat me, but
he's not doing anything anymore.
I'll never forgive you, Samuel. And yes, I did, but I didn't. Early days, I had a strange psychological battle with it, I think, because I never wanted, like, if I'd record things, I wouldn't watch it on TV. I couldn't watch it. I was like, I'm not great at it now. I think cutting clips up and things, I've gotten better at watching myself, but I never liked it early days. And I was never good at, like, this is where social media sometimes I struggle with, in that self-promotion. I'm almost like, I do the work, and if you like the work, come and see me. I've never been good at going like, so that was a crush. I think we all saw that. So
I'm good at comedy. See me do comedy. It's
yeah,
hard.
but I guess social media is like this now. I mean, in saying that, I think the last post I put up was people's reviews on YouTube to be like, so people really like it, because I guess that's the world we're in now. But yeah, I think I'm always very private about my wins. Like, I don't, like I said, it's usually when I'm on my own and I think about it and I go, oh yeah, nice work. But I don't like to beat my chest too much about it.
And once again, this is that same sort of brand. You can either be that sort of artist, creative, who is putting that on social media and going, hey, here's a sincere post about how I got to where I am today and how grateful I am of my achievements. Or you go, oh, I did a show last night, fun. And you're like almost too irreverent. Sometimes I feel like we get so irreverent that we stop showing that we care about anything, you know?
Yeah.
I think there's this thing with the Australians sort of taking the piss out of yourself, that you've stopped going, oh, but it's remarkable that I performed a show tonight and it went so well, and look at me go.
Jesus, it's a fine balance, isn't it, mate? Like, you know, you're right. You want to do a little bit of that, but I mean, I've struggled. I've done the halfway through an appreciation post and gone, oh, you idiot, and then deleted it.
You're already thinking about who's going to bully you about this. Yeah.
Well, I feel like we're probably of a similar ilk, whether it's growing up suburban Australia, whether it's growing up in a different time. And I touched on this in my last special, where I said, like, last century, people don't think about it. People's attitudes were very different, just to how you promote yourself, how you talk to people. This century is great for, you know, people bigging each other up and going, good on you, you're doing that. Like, I just didn't grow up in that environment. Like, everyone was like, you did what you were supposed to do. And everyone went, yeah, nice one. And you're more likely to give your mate shit for what he did, but then say to someone else, he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, behind their back.
I'm really proud of him. But to his face, that would never happen. And so I've got that fighting inside of me where I'm like, yeah, but don't sit there just beating your chest going like, what a legend.
Yeah. You know? I 100% same thing. Yeah, you can't do it, because, I mean, even as you were saying, I was filling in the slur that I would have been called back for complimenting, especially another man.
Yeah. You know, like, and that's fighting inside of you.
Yeah.
And I mean, comedy is that, it's breaking tension, in it? And that is tension building. Like, there's so many things I respect about the generation coming through. Because I also think, and I reflect upon this a lot with my kids, is that our parents were raised by probably parents who went through war.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this weird thing of like, they got raised by parents who, and you just talked about your oppa. I never met my oppa. I met my oma. She was a beautiful woman. But I also think, like, you can't go through 2 world wars and be right in the head.
Yeah.
Like,
and then that gets passed down in both like the DNA and also the experience. It's like my whole family has battled depression, and it's in their bones that they're like to be that close. Like, oh, my mum's dad was in Auschwitz, the big famous one. That's crazy. Like,
The big famous one. Oh, at least you went straight to the top. That's good stuff.
You want to get some name recognition, you know?
Oh, who's dropping names now? None of this Dachau shit. I'm talking about Auschwitz.
Number one with a bullet. But I went there, and it's like we need to remind ourselves, and like this is the whole kind of theme of what we're talking about, is that we can either be disconnected from what is happening around us and be so removed and irreverent all the time, but then we will be on our deathbed going, did I ever let myself feel anything? Or was I always with this just ironic removement from so many situations that we stop going, hey, I actually love you, or this is a significant moment, or isn't this remarkable? What if this was enough? I think it's important for us to be able to go, this rules. It's the same reason that I've talked about in the past, once again talking about the difference between like improvisers and clowns and musical theater performers versus comedians. Though that batch of like performers, they'll go and take a photo of their cast and go, how fun was that? Like, look at us. We're going to put this on socials of how much of a great time we had together. A comedian will go, hey, let's get a group photo. Fuck off, fuckhead. Like, check out this guy. And like, yes, they will get group photos as well, but it's so much harder for the comedian to go, should we get a photo? Nah, whatever. Just a gig.
Just being cool here. I mean, I do often reflect about this, which is, I think, this in life. I know this isn't philosophy, but I guess this is the thing that I think about a lot, which is stand-up comedy is extremely important. Like, I have had moments in my life where people like, I really needed that laugh. And it was in COVID, as shit as the Zoom gigs were, I'd get DMs from people going, thanks, mate. It has been shit house. And you go, oh yeah, that's really nice of you. And it is extremely useless. Like, it is exceedingly useless, like in everyone's life. And people go, oh, laughter. And you're like, yeah, in the hierarchy of needs, it's not really that high.
Yeah.
And I think life's exactly the same. We're all very important to people. We're very important to the people who love us. We're very important to our family. We're essential to our family, if anything. In the greater scheme of things, we're all very useless. We're all very, to the greater world at large, and even people that think they're very important. You know, there could be presidents out there and you think you're very important. It's like, nah, in a couple of generations, no one will give a shit who you are.
Well, I'm in the same world. Like my philosophy, or philosophy, if that's the parlance we're using today, is, well, everything's meaningless. And so it's up to us to ascribe meaning to moments. And it's up to us to make sure that we are being proactive and going, oh, check this out. Like, and that's why I'm so keen to like try and photograph moments and hold on to moments. Roadshow this year, it's the second time I've done Roadshow, so it's still really novel to me and exciting to do it. And I'll ask, I'm like, oh, let's get a photo on this stage. And someone will go, oh, we got a photo on this stage last night. I'm like, okay. But like for me, I'm going, no, but this is the dream. Like, I'm here, I'm doing it. I want to try and hold on to this and capture it. But then to someone who's in the more production world, they'll go, it's a job. Oh, but I want to give this the sheen that I think it deserves.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm starting to, I mean, it's maybe getting older as well. You start to go like, oh yeah, I really should suck this up because, I mean, even just little things. I had a couple of wins last night. I'm trying out new material for next year's show and had a trial show, and they can be touch and go, and actually went all right. And then I did a spot and that went all right. And I'm like, oh, some of those bits work. And then I was driving home like, well, we got to take this W, because I've done plenty of gigs recently when I'm trying shit out and it hasn't been a W, and you're driving home questioning all of your life's choices.
You know, it's also a win that I'd like to chat about as we get into like the final portion of this show is sustainability and endurance, and having that ability to keep it interesting for yourself. And like this year, for example, when it came to registration time, I was a little on the fence about, oh, should I do the festival? Should I not do it? What would I get out of it? What's going to be different this year? How do you keep it exciting for yourself? How do you make sure, okay, I'm excited to work on the next show. I'm excited to perform to new audiences. What keeps you coming back?
I mean, definitely you've got to write new material in that. You need that challenge in front of you. I've seen far too many comics that rest on their laurels, and you think, oh, come on, mate, like, I've got to find.
Still doing that bit. Yeah.
Still doing that bit. It's weird because you're right. Like we put the cart before the horse. We put the registration and the name in, and then go, who knows what this show's about?
Mm.
And so sometimes they can fill me with dread because I think I don't have a show at this point in time. I mean, it's a hard balance, isn't it? To actually talking about South African accents, I always think about this, which is I saw the documentary about, if you remember the film Invictus with Matt Damon and Morgan Freeman, about the South African rugby team that won the World Cup in '95 when they'd just become a republic. I saw the actual documentary about it. And that last game, I remember, and it's funnier in a South African accent, where the coach goes, some games are to be enjoyed and some are to be endured. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes in comedy, it's to be enjoyed and endured. Sometimes you're just enduring through it. You're like, this is a fucking punish. But I know I've done this before. I'll get to the other end. And then the reward's really high. But you are swimming every time we're on a show from one island to another island that you don't exactly know where it is.
Yeah.
You've been a sailor for a while. You might understand nautically where this you're going in the right direction, but you're still not exactly sure that there's an island on the other side.
And you're also going, this is my job. I know that I'm counting on those ticket sales to pay some bills. On the creative side of things, what's your incentive there beyond, okay, keeping that overturn? Do you give yourself little challenges? Like, I think it's remarkable. Like, it's only a small portion of your show, the special that's available on YouTube now, is the war stuff and the family stuff in there.
Yeah.
But like, are moments like that, because I've considered the same thing. Oh, is there stuff there? Could I make jokes about that family history? Do you give yourself little challenges and creative missions like that?
Yes. I think one of the exciting things is that if you're looking at an hour show, it really is, you get a lot of time. Like in 7 minutes of stand-up, you're just going to belt it out and thanks for coming. But in that kind of show, and you'd know this from dissecting comedy all the time, there are those rhythms that you're going through that just naturally occur in a show. You're kind of 20 out of the gates. Your hope is just bang, 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 bang. You can kind of pull it back a little more. And it's always those interesting stories at about the 40-minute mark, which I think that story sits at, where you've earned their respect and you've earned their trust. And so you can tell a bit more of a long form story. And sometimes they're the most interesting parts of the show.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that for some reason have piqued your interest. And I always think as I've gone along thinking if there's something that has just remained in your brain, there's something in it that you think is good.
Those little earworms.
Yeah, those things that just hang around. And I've had plenty of stories where, I mean, technically it had been like 3 years from inception to it being a final bit. But that's not 3 years straight. That's me looking at it going, yeah, right. Trying it. It's not really landing.
Putting it away. Coming back to it.
Coming back to it. Because I'm writing this new show, the stuff I bring off the bench, what I like to call it. And then I'm like, okay, what's that about? What happened there? And that story, I mean, technically, my auntie, I talk about it and say on her 90th birthday, she did tell those stories. We kind of did know about them. She told us earlier, and I thought they were really interesting. But it was very interesting on her 90th birthday where she really extrapolated on it. And I just thought, I mean, it's a very nice story about what she'd been through and the hardships. But then, in comedy, you're like, sometimes those things that you think are heartbreaking or that, like, there is something funny about, or you hope.
And that part of the show still feels just as punchy and just as, like, the rhythm of that doesn't have that gear shift once again when we're thinking about the comics at the back of the room watching this, or the comics at the festival club going, oh, did you hear about Thorno's show this year? Yeah, at the 40-minute mark, he has a fucking, every year there's the people going, in the award-winning show that someone, like, they cry on stage. Oh, yeah, big whoop. Like, can we just give each other a break here? But, like, for me, with the hour, what I'm intrigued to, like, hear, like, what you sort of considered, like, the rest of the hour to look like is that 40-ish minute mark. I like to think of it almost like a meal, like a series of courses. Degustation, perhaps, is that we can't just be giving the audience hors d'oeuvres and entrees the entire time. They're great to get the spirits high of the audience, get them excited, but eventually we do want a main course. And it doesn't have to be a tearjerker moment, but something of substance would be nice. And so I really enjoyed that moment to go, oh, great, we get to learn a bit more about Dave.
Yeah, like on one of my other specials, it was a long story about me sliding in my infant shit, but it was a 10-minute story that really goes on and paints this huge picture, and it was a great story. But it's that thing of like, let's just settle into this. And I've seen too many comedians, and this is the funny thing about putting things online, because I guess people want 90 seconds worth of comedy online where they can go, oh, that's really funny. But I've seen then some of those comedians do a longer form show, and I'm like, I've kind of lost interest after 15, 20 because I don't know anything about you, and this pace hasn't changed.
Totally. I'm exhausted. And the other thing we can borrow from are the musicians and their set list of they've gone fast, fast song, let's slow it down a little bit. And you go, oh, yeah, because they know that they can't exhaust their audience just by going fast and heavy the whole time. That's why they need to go, all right, let's do let's do a slow number now. Or you might, or that's either someone's a sing along. Like they know.
And it's also like, it's funny you brought that story up because you have a connection to having your heritage. But it's funny in those longer stories, quite often they're the takeaways that people go, like I did a show and it finished on a hike I did in Mount Kilimanjaro with some mates. And then people would always go, oh yeah, the Kilimanjaro show. And I'm like, that is 8 minutes of a 60-minute show. But I did finish on it and there was a bit of a thing. But then, it that's what people pull away from it because they go, oh yeah, it was about that. And you're like, well, not really.
And maybe that's how you end up selling it as well, what the press release says the show is, or if you've got someone in marketing and go, oh, people that walked up Kilimanjaro should come and see this show. You're like, yeah, there's enough in there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like obviously Nanette was hugely influential the world over. But I remember a comic when it was in Melbourne, it was really raw. I recently watched it again on Netflix, and fair enough with Hannah. It's like, I don't think she could. It was really raw, that first one. It was like you walked away and everyone in the theater was like, whoa.
And believed Hannah that, oh, maybe she is going to leave. Yeah.
Totally. But I remember a comic saying, oh, what is it? Like a TED Talk or whatever. And I said, mate, it is wall to wall just funny until about the 45-minute mark. And then she pulls the rug from under you and you go, oh, God. And I said, she'd earned all that. It wasn't as if, like, I know America lost their minds because we're like, is that stand-up? And we were all like, yeah. Like, we were more used to the festival circuits. Where you're like,
familiar with that sort of show.
I'm not being dismissive. Like, Hannah's elite comedian, so she knew how to do it unbelievably. And when it's done badly, it's really bad. But it's like, no, she earned that. Like, it was still stand-up. Like, I don't care what you say.
And once again, that's the thing that people took away is going, oh, it's about this, or, oh, it's so raw and it's so unflinching and it's so confronting. Yeah, but remember how you were laughing for 95% of the time? Like, oh, yeah, it's also incredibly funny.
Yeah. I mean, I'm toying with some ideas right now, but they're so in their infancy that who knows if they actually come to fruition. Because I still always think to the audience, the job is to make them laugh. Like, stand-up is very simple. Executing it is very hard. The job description is very simple.
Well, let's talk about endings as we come to the end. Okay, so you're saying that first 20 minutes, you want it to be thick and fast, punchy, get them on board, and then you have a bit more permission at around that 40-minute mark. You've earned their trust. We get to do something longer. How do you like to bring a show into landing?
I mean, I used to, and I think a lot of young comedians do this, and some comedians might still work this way. They say, I want to write a show about X. And what I found through the years is that it wouldn't be the funniest show I've ever written. And I because I work the clubs and I do all that other stuff, I couldn't really live off it. I was a bit like, I can't really get a lot out of this show. And then there was a year where I just said, I'm just going to write and see what happens. And it actually turned into a thematic show. More that the theme came out in the writing. And I went, oh, I'm talking about this. And so sometimes the conclusion of the show, and I've since learned scriptwriters quite often work like this. Like there's movies where you can obviously say they've gone, this is where the end is and we have to work back. But a lot of them, they say, we do the opening act, we do this. And then you kind of go, well, then the conclusion should be this. Or the thing that I'm asking in this is X. So how am I going to answer that?
Yeah.
And by doing that in stand-up, because essentially when you're doing a first person, like when you do stand-up like ours, which is storytelling of our lives and doing those things, you're a documentary maker. You collate all the footage and all the stuff, and then you edit it to what makes it funny, to the parts that are going to go in. And then once you have built that first opening act, you're like, well, what questions am I asking here? What am I doing here? And sometimes it's as simple as the funniest bit goes at the end. Sometimes there is no thing and you just go, just make them laugh heaps at the end and get the fuck out. Or sometimes, and that Mount Kilimanjaro was an interesting one because I had talked a lot about how tired I was. I had sleeping problems. I talked about how much I dreamed about retirement. I just wanted to get the fuck away. And then I did, because that was probably the year after lockdown. So there's probably some shit going on. And then through that hike, it was like, oh yeah, this is what I needed. I needed to get the fuck out of here. I needed to do all this stuff. And and so the end did work naturally well with all the shit that I'd built up. But it wasn't like I went on the trip going, well, this is it, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
You know, and so all those questions that I'd asked, it felt like the right answer to all of that.
There's a phrase I like, which is the inevitable conclusion, like the feeling that everything's been moving towards this point, and the audience, like that satisfaction of the audience going, of course that's the ending, because everything was leading to that. Like that always feels so nice, and that sometimes we see in the more theatrical shows is that blackout moment, and I think you have a blackout at the end of the special as well.
Marcel, I had to, because the rant just doesn't stop. For people who, this is a bit of a teaser. This is my 5 years in breakfast radio. But I have a rant at the end of the show, which someone has explained as an elder millennial cathartic rant, which is what it is. It's funny, I put it in the first 10 minutes because I just thought the top needed energy. And it was Tom Gleason who said he saw the show and he goes, mate, that goes at the end. Like it's got... And when I put it at the end of the show, I was like, oh yeah, this is all the things I'm asking myself.
It's a crescendo.
It is a natural crescendo because the pace that I'm delivering it all at, people are like, oh my God, he said it all in a row. But it kind of buttons up the frustrations that I was talking about at the start of the show. But I didn't have the wherewithal to understand that was the end of the show until another comic went, yeah.
Yeah, and we need to let the audience help us out, which is the same thing I get angry about. You said the word theme earlier, and so many comedians love to go, oh, my show doesn't have a theme. My show doesn't have a theme. But that's up for the audience to determine, and don't ever tell us what it doesn't have. I'll watch your show and I'll tell you what the theme is.
Yeah, and sometimes that theme, I mean, you'd be pretty ignorant if you're a comedian. You do an hour and you go, oh, there is a theme. You're the theme. I mean, you're the protagonist, obviously, but then also there's only so much you can talk about, and even if you've written over the last 2 years, 3 years, there's a finite amount of shit that you can talk about, and you'll find through it. It's a nice loop sometimes. You find out that you go, oh, that's what's been swimming around in my head.
Yeah.
But there's definitely something through it.
Yeah, that's my main thing, is just resisting when you're having that pub chat in the lead up to the festival. Phrases like, oh, it'll be good once it's written. Oh, yeah, it's not really about anything. Like, man, you're getting me so pumped to come and see your show when all you're doing is telling me what the show isn't and how it doesn't exist yet.
But a lot of the times that thing is you and the world, as dismissive as that sounds. I remember seeing, and I know I've said a lot of names through this show. It's just that I want to give credit where credit is due. Like seeing Ronnie Chang early, and I'm like, well, his show is a Singaporean guy of Chinese heritage here in Australia, watching the world as like an alien, going, well, what's going on here, and doing all this. Like that is the theme through the show. That was watching Ronnie. And I mean, I guess that's the great thing in his situation, is that you can easily go, oh yeah, that's Ronnie.
Yeah.
Like that was why he came through so quick, because everyone went, yeah, oh, that guy. The guy that acts like he's Chris Rock, but he looks like an Asian lawyer. And you're like, yeah, that's the guy. But, and that was his point of view, was the thing that stood out throughout the whole show.
It's consistent. It's clear. People know what they're going for. Yeah. It almost felt like he came out fully cooked. Tell people where they can see this special that we've been talking about.
Marcel. Okay, here comes the sell. It's on my YouTube page. Just Dave_Thornton for all my socials, Instagram, TikTok, the whole kit and caboodle. So if they go on my YouTube page, I mean Dave Thornton, if you plug that in, it's there. So is my other 2 specials. So you got 3 specials there for free. Like and subscribe and all that kind of jazz.
And the show, and the next year's show is being cooked up as we speak.
Being cooked up, more or less. That's what.
Is it on sale yet? Because I'm seeing a lot of things going on sale.
Very soon. We record this mid-November, and so I'll be thinking in a couple of weeks. But if you follow me on the socials, it's obviously going to get announced real soon. So you get 3 specials and then a new live show next year. Good Lord.
You're spoiling them. And then these clips that you keep putting out, and you're about to go on holiday, and I'm assuming there'll be just a small portion of you that's looking for content on the road as well.
Isn't it? My kids are primary school age now, and I say to my partner, I'm like, oh, they stopped doing dumb shit. They're really good at doing dumb shit when we were younger, and now they've stopped doing it. So who knows? Maybe they'll do more dumb shit when we're on holiday.
And maybe you've raised them to be too well adjusted to be really...
Yeah. Damn it. I didn't think this through, but I think I want to raise good human beings.
I got to start raising my voice more. God damn it. Hey, thanks for making the time, Dave.